6 strange and mysterious islands. Isla Bormaca. Measuring in at around 80 square kilometers, this island was once off the coast of Mexico but has since seemingly disappeared into thin air. Isla Bormaca would have been the farthest point of Mexico's geographic border to the west, if discovered. But this has now changed thanks to it vanishing. This has meant that the geographic border remains. The Alacrans Islands in Mexico cannot claim the island to extend its borders as planned. It was first shown on maps of the Yucatan coast in the 1700s, and efforts since then have been made to find it. A Mexican naval vessel in 1997 was the first to have a good look for it but could find no trace where it should be. Many believe that it has mysteriously sunk or submerged due to an earthquake, where some say that the USA blew it up to stop Mexico expanding. Vanishing Island. This perplexing island was once found in the Oral Sea and was chosen in the 1920s. By then Soviet Russia to house its biological weapons experiments, the Soviet authorities at the time needed an out-of-the-way place within its territory to perform the experiments, and Vanishing was ideal with no one nearby to work out what was going on. It provided the perfect place to use. Up to 1,500 workers stayed on the island, work and live when it was at its peak. The Soviets developed and tested terrible weapons there, such as anthrax, smallpox and tularemia, for potential military use. The Oral Sea dried up, which meant it was no longer an out-of-the-way island. The Soviets buried or burned the biological weapons there to avoid detection and scampered. Earthquake Island. This island mysteriously sprung from the Earth's core. Many will remember the huge earthquake around Pakistan in 2013 that devoured 39 people. What most don't know is that the same quake also created this whole new island out of nothing. It was not present on any maps beforehand. Scientists believed that the violent forces involved created it. Measuring 100 meters long by 9 meters high, it is a wonder of nature in many ways. Scientists believe that the immense forces caused by the earthquake buckled the land and forced some to rise up, thus creating this island. Magic Island. The boffins at NASA have long been studying what is happening up in the stars above us. One of the planets they keep an eye on is Saturn and its many moons. When analyzing recent satellite pictures sent back for review, the NASA scientists noticed a brand new island had been created on Titan, one of the moons of Saturn. This was major news, as it was the first time any new land had been seen, and prompted many to wonder exactly what had created it. It's pretty tiny, measuring in at 20 kilometers by 10 kilometers, but is an outstanding discovery. Nonetheless, the island lies in one of the seas of Titan, but the NASA guys say they will not know the full nature of the landmass until they can float a boat there to investigate. Bannerman Island. This island in the Hudson River is a half-hour boat ride from New York City. There's no other way to get there. Visitors to the mysterious island are likely to wonder why there's a castle on it. The edifice was built by Frank Bannerman VI, who made a fortune by reselling surplus military equipment he bought at government auctions at the end of the U.S. civil conflict. He was in need of a place to store the huge quantities of black powder he purchased along with other surplus items. When his son David mentioned Pulapole Island, Bannerman bought it in 1900. Built a large arsenal there the next spring and constructed a small castle atop the island next to the arsenal, as his home, renaming the island after himself. When Bannerman passed away in 1918, construction ceased. The ferry boat was destroyed in a storm in 1950 and the island was abandoned on August 8, 1969. A fire gutted the arsenal, and New York State, which had bought Bannerman Island and its buildings in 1967, declared the island off limits. It reopened in 2017 and tour guides now recount the island's mysterious history. Too curious. Floating Island. Located in the Parana Delta between the cities of Campanu and Churrete in Buenos Aires province in Argentina is an island shaped like a nearly perfect circle with a diameter of 120 meters and 390 feet. It is surrounded by a channel that also forms a nearly perfect circle. Thanks to the presence of the round landmass inside it, the channel looks much like a crescent moon. Together the island and channel resemble an eye, an appearance that suggested the island's nickname. The eye floats, it also rotates on its own axis. The filmmaker discovered the eye in 2016 while he was scouting locations for a science fiction movie. Having made the astonishing discovery of the mysterious island, Spiller and his crew, including Richard Petroni, A hydraulic and civil engineer from New York who's become involved in the project decided to make a crowd-funded documentary about the eye instead of filming the science fiction movie news.